Hello, I'm Charlene Stewart and this is Jamaica Now. Coming up, Hurricane Sandy sweeps across Jamaica, leaving one dead and a trail of disaster in eastern parishes. The Prime Minister orders state agencies to assess the damage. And no easy task for the government. The press for an IMF deal before year-end continues. But first, let's begin with what happened on Wednesday afternoon as Hurricane Sandy made landfall in Jamaica, claiming the life of 74-year-old Cleveland Scott. The police say he was killed after a boulder rolled onto his house in Bedward Garden in eastern St. Andrew, injuring him. Sandy reached Category 1 strength before barreling across the eastern parishes. But hours before the hurricane actually hit the island, heavy rains and huge waves threatened homes and lives. Senior Gleaner editor Arthur Hall found residents on edge when he visited Sandy Gully in the vicinity of Sandy Park near Leganese St. Andrew.
That is the retaining wall of the Sandy Park Gully. This is where the house was, where 5 persons lost their life. Right now it appears that wall is going to break away and that house could go as soon as possible. The gully is flowing heavily and it is going to get worse the closer Sandy gets to Kingston, Jamaica. Right now it's a clear and present danger. Sandy Park residents are in trouble, and if Sandy barrels across the island, it could be trouble for the residents that live here.
And so it was throughout Wednesday. High waves, swollen rivers, torn roadways, flooded streets, and fallen trees and light poles. As night fell, 70% of the country was without electricity. The parishes of Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, St. Thomas, St. James, Westmoreland, and Hanover were the most affected. One day later, a resident from Lawrence Tavern in St. Andrew, Edward Taylor, could barely look on as part of his house floated away in the gully.
I come out earlier from 2 o'clock bells, and rain and breeze, and so I'm standing up and watch it tree them and so, and they wave and what to tear down all them trees, they tear down and so. But when we go back and lay down and say, we catch a sleep call around 9 hours it approach. Me only hear when this collapse down and everything start tear down for me and I'm there on the bed. Right, and I see things that come on, me just curl up and roll up so. Right, and everything all me have a bag beside me gone down the gully. And everything because through is a security work we do. So we should have gone work today.
The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, reported that close to 1,500 people were in shelters across the country. Hours after a 2-day island-wide curfew was lifted, the police reimposed the measure to prevent looting. As damage assessment continued, the National Works Agency estimated that 40% of the nation's roads were impassable. But by Friday, there was some good news. The Jamaica Public Service said electricity had been restored to about 60% of the island. But residents in eastern parishes like St. Thomas, Portland, and St. Mary will have to wait a bit longer. The Light and Power Company says critical elements of the transmission system in those areas had been damaged. It's expected they will be without electricity throughout the weekend. And most schools were spared the wrath of Sandy. So by Friday, students were attending classes in Clarendon, St. James, St. Elizabeth, Hanover, Westmoreland, St. Catherine, and Manchester. But acting on the advice of the ODPEM, the Education Ministry ordered schools closed in the parishes of Kingston, St. Andrew, St. Thomas, Portland, St. Mary, St. Anne, and Trelawney. They will reopen on Monday, October 29. It was especially bad at the Swallowfield Primary and Junior High. The government said Sandy caused severe damage to infrastructure and crops. The Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller said Sandy couldn't have come at a worse possible time. In her words, I hope that the international agencies, as well as the International Monetary Fund, will recognize the problem that we now have as a result of the storm. Now, the government has vowed to find the funds to assist the areas worst hit by the storm. But for months, economists and financial experts have complained that the economy is paralyzed without an IMF agreement. And on Sunday, October 21, the government emerged from a 2-day cabinet retreat seeking to ease those fears. In a statement, the Prime Minister said the government is working as hard as possible to conclude an agreement. But that statement was met with mixed reactions. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big stories making the news. We're always happy to hear from you, so please continue to share your thoughts with us at onlinefeedback@gleanagm.com. Tune in to Power 106 for regular updates, and do follow us on Twitter at Jamaica Gleaner. I'm Charlene Stewart, inviting you to join us for another edition of Jamaica Now. But as we go, we want to leave you with the images of Hurricane Sandy and its impact on Jamaica.